morning. It is Tuesday, November 8th, and I would like to call the regular council meeting of the City of Twinsburg to order. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Scafidi?
Here.
Mr. Ceresi?
Here.
Mrs. Stauffer?
Here.
Mr. Roden?
Here.
Mr. Fury?
Here.
Mr. Steele?
Here.
Ms. McFerrin?
Here.
Okay, next we will have the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance, and that will be led by Mayor Yates. Please rise.
Father, we seek your guidance for the business that is before us. In planning for the future of the City of Twinsburg, give us vision. Guide us to make decisions that are not self-serving, but for the betterment of our community, so we can continue to move in a positive direction. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll move on to the approval of the October 25th minutes. Anybody have any questions or changes? Hearing none, those minutes will stand approved as written. What I would like to do tonight, I want to move on to from audience participation. We're going to have a presentation, and then we will have audience participation. So right now we'll move to the presentation portion of our meeting. Mayor Yates.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Scafidi. And I asked, I requested that we do this. The last week and a half has been a very trying time in Twinsburg regarding the construction project we have going on at Route 91. I wanted to give the residents an update. There's a lot going on behind the scenes. I want to share a little bit. I've requested representatives from GDP and ODOT to come here tonight, so they're also going to speak after I speak. But I just want to let the residents know, and a lot of you know this project has become delayed. October 27th, I did receive a communication from a resident that the roundabout was open. And while I knew that we're going to do some work and try to open it up during the day, and some of this, to back up a little bit, is this project, ODOT and the contractor has attempted to keep lanes moving down 91 for a project that in most areas would just be shut down and detoured for a 3 or 4 month period. But in an effort to try to keep traffic moving, which is a positive thing. However, I think in the long term, by doing that, we also trained some residents and non-residents to act a certain way with that roundabout. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But anyway, so on October 27th, I did drive immediately up to the roundabout, and this was probably 4 or 5 in the afternoon. And we were at a situation where the construction project was shutting down that east-west direction during the day, and then they began opening it up at night, which is great in a concept, but when you still have barrels in a full-blown construction project and you've trained residents to drive unimpeded north and south for a 2-month period, I basically got on the phone and said, we're going to have accidents. We're going to have accidents tonight if we don't shut this down. And there was a representative from the construction company that came out, and I've tried to basically understand that I'm not an engineer, I'm not a car expert, I'm not a roundabout expert, but what I witnessed in a 4 or 5 minute period, I knew there was going to be an accident, and it was not shut down, and sure enough, we had an accident. And the next night we had an accident, and you all know we're sitting on 7 or 8 accidents. One girl from outside this community hit a car and then threw it in reverse and backed into another car. So we had 2 reports there. But we have a situation that every single night when I found out that the deadline to get this thing open and striped was delaying, I knew we were going to continue to have actions there because of it's still a full-blown construction site. In my mind, when I drive there and I see barrels and I see guys working, I wanted that situation to change. And we had a meeting today. Today we have a representative that's going to speak both from ODOT and from GDP and the engineer. I requested them to come, and they're going to talk a little bit about the project, what's going on, what's happening. Today we all made a decision to shut down that east-west traffic again until we get this project complete. We have all the accident reports. If you look at them, you could copy the diagram and use it for every report. It's southbound traffic on 91 that doesn't yield. A majority of that traffic is traffic from outside of Twinsburg, but they're hitting Twinsburg people, and that's my concern. And we can get information out to Twinsburg residents. You guys have been great. You understand how to travel in it. You get the communications. However, we can't get those same communications to Hudson and to Aurora and to Streetsboro and to Canal Fulton, I think the one person was from, and whoever. So in the short term, I know it's going to be an inconvenience, but I've asked that we shut down that east-west traffic until it's complete, until we see no barrels, until it's striped, and until we can fully advertise that this is a done project, at least from the southbound entrance of Heinens north, until it's done. We've got a number of issues up there. I've been extremely frustrated. I think I shared that frustration today in the meeting we had. And so I just want to let us know that since this thing has opened, it's been a concern, and I understand the residents' concerns, and I'm as frustrated as everyone is, and the last thing I want is to have additional accidents because we've trained drivers to come to a construction project and just go without yielding. I know it's simple. I know there's signs, and we've put up additional signs, and it's just sensory overload right now when you've got barrels and flashing signs and yields and lanes and a lot of different things. So I guess I wanted to share that. And I've taken calls today. I've taken calls since we shut down east-west traffic with people complaining. There's a lot of people out there that love it, like the way traffic flows, but it's a situation that I think we're in right now, and I don't know any other way to stop the daily or 24-hour, 48-hour accidents that we're having because we're getting people traveling southbound that aren't yielding and doing what they're supposed to. So we made that decision today, and everything I think got into place and is working and getting into place for that to happen. So I apologize. We're probably going to have another week and a half or maybe a little bit more of those pinch points traveling east and west on Glenwood shut down. If you're traveling north, you can still turn right on Glenwood and you can go straight. If you're traveling south, you can turn right on Glenwood and you can go straight. So I apologize as this is more of an inconvenience, but I'd rather inconvenience some of our motorists, some of our residents, and some of those traveling than to continue to have accidents because we're trying to function in an incomplete project. So I guess I wanted to share that tonight. I know there's some comments that I don't know who wants to go first. Amy, you want to come on up? She can open.
Thanks, Ted. Well said. We did come to a consensus today to close those legs down until we are able to get everything through there. We've been working the last couple of weeks when these accidents started. We contacted GPD, who is the design engineer, forwarded them over the traffic reports. They've gone through those traffic reports, kind of made some observations, and they've actually gone and reviewed the site as well. ODOT as well has sent staff from their district office to go out and review some of the concerns with how things were operational. And as Ted said, we basically have determined that we're closing that down until we can get all those barrels out, because a lot of what we're hearing is those barrels are causing people to not know exactly what's going on and feeling unsure. I know, people when they see barrels sometimes just tend to panic a little bit more. So with me tonight I have Michael Hobbs, who's a traffic engineer, who can kind of give a brief kind of what we're looking at as far as what he's observed and some of the things that we're going to be working on. One of the things we will be trying to do is put a little bit of an education push out again over the next couple weeks. And how we do that, we still have to formulate as far as maybe some portable message signs, at least in the southbound direction, that actually stay a little bit longer, as we're still not having the whole completion of the project all the way to Solon, so there will be that transition there. But I'll let Mike kind of go over what he saw in some of those reports, some of his suggestions. He actually made the suggestion to close that down and was instrumental in our argument for doing that, and I'll let him give a little bit of Thanks, Mike.
No problem. I'm Mike Hobbs. I'm from GPD. I'm GPD's traffic engineering practice leader and a principal of the firm. At the request of the mayor and Amy, I did come out and look at the roundabout on Monday, and based on those findings, we did recommend closing it down. I think I just want to take a few moments, to describe roundabouts and how they work and how they should work, and kind of relate it to what the mayor and Amy were saying of why we think some of these issues are occurring. Roundabouts are complicated intersections. They do minimize conflict points, but they require them to be driven properly. And we've got a couple issues with the current roundabout that's out there. The maintenance of traffic zone, the construction drums that the mayor and Amy referred to, are not allowing the proper permanent traffic control pattern to be established out there. So you do not have the proper number of lanes entering and exiting the roundabout as it was open earlier this week. And you also don't have lighting out there right now. The lighting is provided by Ohio Edison poles that are going to be put up by Ohio Edison. And the way roundabouts work, it requires a visual acuity of approaching traffic. And if you can't see the traffic or determine the traffic's intent, especially in the dark, it makes it difficult to successfully navigate a roundabout. And that's kind of the situation you have occurring. Most of the crashes, the southbound crashes, are failure to yield crashes, and they're occurring in the dark. So it's most likely difficult for the southbound drivers to determine what the real intent of the northbound person is. So it's really critical that you don't open the roundabout until it is complete. You have the proper roadway components done, the signing, the striping, and the lighting. And that's where we're at right now, is hopefully in the next couple weeks those things will get addressed. With regard to some observations of folks driving through the roundabout, I was out there for several hours on Monday afternoon, and what I witnessed was numerous people entering the roundabout southbound and not looking to their left. It's critical as you drive a roundabout that you always look to your left as you're entering the roundabout and yield to traffic in the circle. And that is what was not occurring. As the mayor mentioned, we've probably trained folks not to have to do that based on the construction that's occurred out there over the last few months. So it's going to be critical when the roundabout reopens that we get that message out for those motorists as they're coming southbound, that they have to yield to the traffic in the circle and look to their left. The other thing that was rather interesting, and I took a couple pictures, I don't have those with me tonight, but Amy has them, where drivers would actually enter the roundabout, they would stop, look, enter the roundabout correctly, get halfway around and stop because they were afraid to continue. It's a training thing with this roundabout. It's different than the other roundabout you have in the city, where the roundabout at Liberty and Glenwood is a single lane roundabout. This is a multi-lane roundabout, so it's a little bit different to drive through, but the principles are exactly the same. Once you're in the circle, you continue around the circle and you have the right of way, and any cars wanting to enter the circle must yield to you once you're in the circle. We did discuss the design of the roundabout with the ODOT representatives, just to determine that there wasn't something that was missed in the design process that we think is leading to what's occurring out there right now. The consensus between the city, GPD, and ODOT is the design is correct for what we're anticipating the normal driver behavior to be. We just need to condition the drivers to provide us that normal behavior. One of the things that I believe we're going to do is install on the southbound approach flashing yield signs. So as you're coming to the roundabout, it actually draws your attention to the fact that you have to yield. Being that that's the only movement around the roundabout now, even with the issues that are occurring at night, the southbound movement is the only movement that we're having these crashes. As the mayor mentioned, every other movement is being navigated correctly. So we believe we need to place a little extra emphasis on that southbound movement. And I believe that takes care of most of the observations that I had.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
I don't know if we're asking.
Yeah,
Isn't
you're
there a
gonna
third
ask.
guy?
I'm not sure.
Good evening. My name is Mike Simpkins. I'm with the Ohio Department of Transportation. I was the project manager for ODOT during the design, and I now manage our work zones within our district. So I kind of have two hats in this discussion. I would just like to touch on, Mike touched about where the roundabout and what the intent is. And from the mayor's standpoint, I'd like to commend the mayor on what he's done to this point. My experience, I've worked with a lot of different mayors, and several of them will turn something like this over to a service director, someone wash their hands of it, and he has been very hands-on and very adamant to get to get this resolved. So I commend the mayor for what he has done to this point. We have different layers with ODOT, and our construction personnel, they're not traffic guys. They're following the set of plans. It's not really their area when we start to get into a traffic area that's caused problems, especially on roundabouts. They're used to straight line widening. They know how to straight line widen a road. Roundabouts are very difficult to construct because what's good for the contractor is not good for traffic. What's good for traffic is not good for the contractor. And it's a lot of give and take in there, and it's a very delicate situation. So it finally got elevated to the level of getting to our attention in the district office so that we could put some eyes on it and try to troubleshoot to see what was going on. And we do, in looking at the situation, as just to parrot what the mayor said earlier, that having the situation we had in for such a long time, which had people being able to drive 2 lanes through the intersection without having to yield, and then all of a sudden putting that into a full motion while you still had construction devices within the roundabout, we think is contributing to the issue. As we go along, we're going to keep paying attention to what's going on, keep working with the contractor to make sure that as we go forward, the contractor, they're following what they see as their perceived schedule of construction. And so some of the issues that we've seen out there, I think, could have been resolved had they consulted with us before some of the stuff that they implemented. So my role here tonight is really just to answer any questions from ODOT standpoint and the contract construction standpoint that you may have. Yes, sir.
So the contractor took it upon themselves to open the roundabout prematurely, is that what you're saying? How about this? Whose call is it now to open the roundabout in a normal way? Who makes that decision now?
We do.
ODOT is responsible to open the roundabout.
Well, the roundabout is the city's maintenance, the city's responsibility. It's a partnership with the city because while it's a city's call, I can't dictate to the city, you have to open this up or you have to close it down. It has to be a discussion between us and the city as partnering. Now, we've preconditioned both our contractors and our construction personnel that closures are bad. Closures, the longer you keep a road closed, you're inconveniencing people. So the sooner you can get it open, the better. We're getting into October. The weather could change at any time. So they were in a little bit of a hurry to get it open and get those side roads open. I think it goes back to inexperience on their part on the repercussions of getting that open. We could have, and if it was a single lane roundabout, you could have done what you've done, opened it up, and we could have never had a problem. These 2-lane, when you get 2-lane approaches, they tend to act funny if you don't get everything just right. And I think this is a case where they wanted to get it open, they wanted to get those side streets open, get those movements restored, because that's how we preconditioned them. But it unfortunately had a adverse effect.
So, go ahead.
Are the pedestrian lights for the crosswalk functional at this point?
No.
Okay. So when those become functional, does that just alert the driver that there's somebody crossing the road, or does it stop the traffic with the red light?
The hawk signals, they actually flash red. When they flash red, you have to stop. When they're flashing, Mike help if I hurt myself, because hawk signals I'm a little bit funny on.
Okay, but at this time, they're not functional, but
They're
they'll-
not functional yet.
But they'll be functional before we,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, and the way they work is once the pedestrian pushes the button, there'll be a flashing yellow period to warn motorists that they have to stop, then an all red period where they stop, and then the lights will flash red, meaning that the drivers, if there's no pedestrian conflict, they can go ahead. And they'll be stopping in advance of actually entering the roundabout. So there shouldn't be any interaction caused by somebody stopping for the hawk signal and also somebody waiting to enter the roundabout.
Okay. Who walked away on the 27th and left that intersection open? Was it the contractor? Did they talk to you? Did they talk to ODOT? Did they talk to the city? The decision was made, or they just threw their hands up and said, we're going to open it up? Well, when it got opened up, was there a decision made by somebody who had control over it, or did the contractor just throw their hands up and walk away and said, hey, we're getting pressured, we got to have this intersection open?
The contractor made the decision to open up, but the contractor did consult with our field engineer on the opening of the roundabout. So it wasn't that he didn't do it without our knowledge. He did consult with the field engineer on the project. Neither one saw foresaw the problems with the circulating traffic yielding once they opened it up. And I still caution.
So we put 16 drivers in jeopardy because nobody foresaw that there was going to be problems up there in our intersection. Or more, because there's probably passengers in some of these cars.
But we also need to remember that once this is, I still anticipate that once we get this open, now we've closed those movements down again. Once we get this back open,
Right, but
again,
now you're back to training the cars to going back and driving straight through. You're back to what you said is the problem with the roundabout now. You training them to go straight through again.
yes. But we had, at this point this afternoon, we had a very perceived problem that needed a resolution, and some of the other issues that we had discussed take time, and we had about 3 hours till dusk started to set. We had to make a call to do something to make sure that things were safe. So the call was made to close those movements down, and that prevents any accidents from happening tonight, and that gives us some time to get things in place. However, you are correct in the fact when we open this thing up full motion again, we are going to have to look at doing some message boards and some other things in there to really try to catch people's attention as to the traffic pattern that has changed once it gets open.
My next question is, who actually designed the roundabout itself?
GPD did, and actually what I wanted to jump in here was talk about the maintenance of traffic and strict constructability for roundabouts. We've done quite a few roundabouts, just not in Twinsburg. This is the first one like this that's been done in Twinsburg. Normally what happens with a roundabout, all four legs are closed so that the contractor can go in, he can build the entire roundabout all at once. There's no traffic interfering. We don't have this issue where we've improperly trained drivers that they can go straight through. The issue here is 91 is your major north-south artery, and the discussion that was occurred during the design phase was that north-south traffic had to be maintained. It was okay to close Glenwood because there was alternate routes to get traffic around that, but because 91 is the major north-south route, it had to be maintained. So that was why what we call the maintenance of traffic plans were developed the way they were, maintaining that movement.
I got to tell you, okay, just from my going through that roundabout, it's a failure, period, okay? It is absolutely designed, in my mind, designed wrong. Why did we shoehorn that roundabout into there, and why didn't we build a big one with plenty of room? You don't have, I'm a retired Twinsburg police officer, and when I went to accident investigation school, one of the things that they taught us was it's about 1.5 seconds for your reaction time to get your foot off the gas and onto the brake after you perceive you're going to get into an accident, okay? I can go from Glenwood eastbound to 91 south in less than a minute, less than 1.5 seconds at 15 miles an hour, okay? It's too small. I got to tell you, my personal feeling is, who's going to pay to take it out? Okay? It's not what the residents wanted. It's not what we need. You guys failed.
Well, I can't respond to that particular comment with who's going to pay, but with regard to the design is to the industry standard for a multi-lane
Well,
roundabout.
you know what? Here's one of-
GPD did
I'm
not
sorry.
just design
I'm
this
sorry.
alone without, actually, we hired a roundabout design consultant. That's all they do. There's 2 of them in Wisconsin. Yeah. I mean, you also have to consider that when you have a roundabout, you're attempting to make people slow down. If you make a roundabout bigger, you end up with encouraging higher speeds, and then these crashes that you're having right now, instead of being fender benders, would be injury crashes. There haven't been injury crashes except for the one where the lady backed up into the other car.
Well, we haven't had injury crashes up there because the airbags have deployed on the cars the way they're supposed to, not because of the way you've designed that intersection.
I'm just saying that from a design perspective, the roundabout is designed to proper criteria for a multi-lane roundabout. Debating whether or not you want it or now or not is not the topic right now, I don't think.
All right, there's other questions here, too. Hold on. Hey, we need some order here. You'll get your opportunity. I don't think I heard the answer to the first question. Maybe you answered it, but maybe I didn't hear it. Who is going to make the call to open this thing up again? And is there going to be a collective decision between the city and possibly ODOT to say, okay, we are ready to do this? So there's kind of a check and balance here before we open this up again.
Yes.
Who's going to make that
We will
call?
be involved in that call. That will require basically everything to be in place, the striping, the lighting, the barrels all gone before, being able to take all the barrels, and we're not going to pull them out and say they're all gone and now we're opening and you take it out at the same time. But we will all be involved in that opening and be well aware of that so that we can do our public information, our broadcast on our service basically to all residents that the roundabout is now open and fully operational. So that will be public information will be put out there before it is officially pulled and open. So, and it won't be done at the last minute at 4 o'clock in the day. If we're ready to go, we know we'll be ready to go. Say on Thursday, we're going to publicize that we are opening on Thursday, even if it's sitting there for a day or two, ready to open, so that we can get that public information out to everybody to make everybody aware that it's going to be fully operational. So it will be a consensus and make sure that everything's in place.
Okay. And am I the only one that thinks that when we do reopen this, and Chief, I might be putting you in a spot, but that there should be police presence there to control the speed? Because, it seems like the north-south traffic on 91 seem to believe that they just have the right-of-way, that Glenwood is just a side street. So they're going through there. And in my personal opinion, but I'm not the safety director, nor am I the police chief, is that if we have a patrol car there with lights on, that always tends to slow people down.
I'm not so sure that doesn't increase the amount of distraction, Sam.
Trying to look at that opposed to looking at the road.
So
We've got to teach them how to slow down. I mean, I've had emails and calls and texts that, tell me, well, the signs aren't big enough. You can't see them. Can't we put the strips in the road? All these things that come up. Can't we put the lights around the yield signs? And, they're still in English. Everything that's up there is in English. And everybody can read. They're no different than any signs anywhere else. But somehow we've got to, in this learning curve, when we do reopen that, need to get people to slow. It's 15 miles an hour. I've gone through there several times. I've gone 15 miles an hour. I'm not going to say that I didn't have a close call. I did, okay? Thank goodness I'm still here to speak about it, and so is the motorist that flew through there when he saw me in the roundabout, decided to tear out right in front of me, okay? And he's still alive too, thank God. Okay, so, but somehow we've got to teach them 15 miles an hour is the speed limit, and that's what you need to go.
we did install one of the temporary speed signs southbound. So it's southbound coming into the approach of the roundabout. And the way the sign was set up was that it's 15 miles an hour, and if you're up over 15 miles an hour, then the light starts flashing. If you get up over 20 miles an hour, the strobe goes off. So, that's what we've done to try to increase that awareness of, hey, it's 15 miles an hour, you need to slow down. We're leaving that sign there. We're going to install the other one coming northbound now, and hopefully that will start some of the education process as well. And I think that those are less distracting than having a cruiser parked somewhere with its reds and blues going. At least it's to start before we ever have to get to that point.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Mr. Fury, did you have another question?
I had a couple. Amy, I think these are yours. So
Or did Amy?
it appears that we need another layer of asphalt so that we have the things that are sticking up off the ground done, and we're getting kind of late in the season. So what else needs to be done to complete the project, and what do you have an estimated project completion date?
What is going to occur is, in a lot of our subdivisions, we don't put the surface course on. In getting the proper surface course, it's specified in the plans. There were some concerns with what's out there right now. The contractor was required to survey. They have to be within a certain tolerance of a ½ inch. And they basically have been told that they've got to do a correction plan because they've got some issues. So putting the surface course down prematurely would have some rideability issues and other concerns out there. Due to temperature constraints associated with the work, we're putting in the lower half into winter mode with it basically be permanently striped in basically its permanent configuration. You'll have the 3 lanes striped. It's got a 5-foot shoulder, so most of those catch basins that basically are raised on the catch basin side come out of play as far as in your driver's wheel path. There are some manholes and some other boxes out there that will all be appropriately ramped. We'll be dealing with the service department, making sure that's all appropriate for winter snow and ice control. I've already had discussions with the service department. We brine a lot of roads. We brine the hills and things like that before a snow and ice event to make sure we basically don't have an ice buildup or anything. That road will be brined. Again, we've done it on multiple roads. A lot of places leave surface courses off. So that will be left off in the lower half. What they will be doing is, like I said, going through there, putting in the striping, removing conflicting striping markings. You'll have 1 lane northbound, 1 lane southbound at Post Road. You'll have your center turn lane that can go into Deer Run, driveways, and all the way up. And then when you get to the southern Heines driveway, plus or minus, or Sherwin Drive, that opens up into more lanes. So you've got basically your 2 lanes going in and your 2 lanes going out. So the full configuration will be in place. Again, they'll be doing some adjustments on the north side striping to improve that element through there. After the first 2 accidents, I was in here on Saturday. I reviewed the site. I did get a hold of Ohio Edison, who I had previously talked to about Cobra lighting that was supposed to go up. That is in their construction department to get that in. I'm waiting for the exact schedule on the construction of putting that out. We have put some additional lighting up there, temporary. So there are things we are working through. There will be things we will be working through. But we're going to be at a place where we're confident for that opening to occur and that everybody basically can go out and do a thorough review. The striping basically will be 100% there. The barrels will be out of the way, and there'll be probably some sort of message board, at least in the southbound direction, saying caution, slow down, giving that type of information. We'll be trying to get some public information out in some of the local bulletins as far as getting picked up on driving properly through roundabouts.
So
I don't have the whole
final
game plan in terms of what, but we have been working on it since the first 2 accidents to try and come up with what's going on and what type of solution, so we're not. So basically what I've been given from the contractor, they should have it all winterized by the 23rd, which is before Thanksgiving. But I'm giving that date out in terms of what I've been told. I also was told it was going to be paved by Halloween. So we're confident based on the amount of work that there's not an extreme amount of work if they put the manpower into it, get that work done. I know we were hoping to have striping done last week and this week, and that really is the issue. Big issue is getting that done. So That's the date. I have it in writing from Carvo that basically said the 11/23. That's the only reason why I'm giving that date out, because it's in writing. And again, that all is dependent on them getting everything else done. Whether we're ready to open or not, we'll make that decision, and we'll make sure it's properly done.
But we'll still need to get it finished late.
It will then,
in
the surface
spring.
course, the surface course will probably go down in June. The material is a polymer material, rubberized, which actually has held up for us better on 91. We've used it in the past on 91, and it is the product we have been using on 91. Slows down on a lot of cracking, et cetera, that comes up through there. It's good friction-resistant surface. We didn't want to reduce that from the spec that we were in, but it needs 60 degrees and rising, so you're not talking, April when the plant's open. You're talking probably in June when they'll actually put the surface down.
Thank you.
All right, Mrs. Stoffer.
I did have one more. Could you once again just explain why the diameter of the roundabout? And a lot of people are questioning, it seems a little narrow. I know we had quite a few
There's
discussions
actually
about it.
more than, I think there's 30
150
feet for the 2 lanes in terms of your traffic lane. A normal road goes anywhere from a 10-foot lane to a 12-foot lane. In the actual diameter of the roundabout, the lanes are 15 feet wide. Your curves in there are designed to slow you down. The only way to get somebody to slow down is to make them move through a curve and slow down. So the curves are basically designed, I've spoken to the police chief, I've spoken to the contract administrator out there during construction.
Right.
An oversized load went through there and stayed in its
Right.
lane without causing any issues with the barrels.
I've seen
The police chief has witnessed big rigs go through there with staying in their lane. It's a matter of slowing down and moving through there, and basically the lanes will support the vehicles going through there as long as they're not
Right.
excessive speed, which
Okay.
basically will have to be.
And just
patterned.
one more thing, I'm not having a problem with the design. I'm having a problem with the people who are failing to yield and hitting cars in the roundabout. And I know, Chief Noga, you said that you can't sit there, but those speed signs that you got, are they not cameras as well? The new ones we just purchased, I thought we also got a.
No, they're not. They do have the ability to take pictures, but not clear to identify, license plates or anything. And we could not use those photos for enforcement anyway. But the signs are up, and
I have a problem with people who are not yielding to enter a roundabout.
Sure.
That's
But I
insane.
also have a problem with people that roll through stop signs,
Right.
or crash red lights. So,
But they're not hitting people who are driving the right
well,
way
at
in
least
the middle of a roundabout.
not there. But we've
Right.
had accidents where people have done that. So it's human behavior. It comes down to human behavior and not paying attention and not driving defensively. So that's where I see every one of these crashes has been driver inattention, not paying attention to a yield sign, which is a pretty standard sign.
Well, that's my thought too. So.
Yeah, so they're just not paying attention.
The lights, the speed monitor does track speeds and gives us a report that shows us the number of vehicles, and it'll categorize the average speeds going through that. So we are looking at that, and just overall, which may address a couple of questions I will ask. This has been a very frustrating situation. I don't enjoy communicating with my engineer all weekend long via text messages and pulling service guys in on overtime to build signs and doing all that. It's been a very, very difficult 10 or 12 days, and it's something that we spend a majority of our day talking about. I spend time up there walking around. I sit and watch. This is a tremendous concern for me, and I don't know what's going to happen. But right now, and Sam, to answer your question, this thing is not going to open fully until they're done, until they're complete, until the barrels are gone, until it's striped, until we have the appropriate merge lanes that are coming north and appropriate merge lanes coming south. It's not going to open. I fought today to get to where we're at today with closing down that east-west traffic, because to me it was balancing, do we continue to train people to go north and south unimpeded, or do I let this full-blown construction project that's causing accidents every 48 hours to continue? And I made the decision to shut down traffic, and got ODOT and Carvo to understand that and, you know, and make that change. So it is a very frustrating thing. So, you know, we were told today that, oh, we're going to try to stripe by the end of this week, and we're going to do this and do that. I wasn't willing to roll the dice on a couple days. I've seen what can happen in a couple days. So I apologize if it's inconvenienced you and you've got to go down Post, or you got to cut through a parking lot, or you got to go around, but I'm not comfortable opening up this thing again, because it's sensory overload. We can put all the signs and flashing and all this kind of stuff, but when we got 50 orange barrels in a 100-foot, you know, piece of pavement, it's going to be it's difficult. I can't expect our residents, and I can't expect drivers outside of the city to know what to do or act rationally or normal driver behavior when it looks the way it does. So that's where we're at, and you know, I'll keep the residents and council up to date, because I'm sure I'll continue to look and talk and deal with this on a daily basis.
Thank you. We have one more comment from Mr. Rowe.
Two.
Oh,
So
Two.
is this normal? Like, is this a normal thing that happens in other cities, or when you do a roundabout? Is this something that has happened elsewhere? And my other thing is, and just a kind of a comment, if this is difficult, as the gentleman from GPD said, why would we do this again with a second roundabout? It makes no sense. So, but I'd like the first question to be answered.
It varies on community. Green has put their roundabout in and has had no issues.
No, it's really not.
But the one that was put in Talmadge initially did have some issues. One of the things about roundabouts, when we talk about speeds coming in and out of them, is that people have to have a sense of caution as they enter the roundabout. The one that was built in Talmadge was similar to this one. It had 2 lanes coming in and out on 2 of the legs, and they were getting failure to yield and also speeding through there. Part of the problem with the speeding was because against what is recommended in the manual, they did not mound up the center island. The center island needs to be raised up so that you can't see across it. If you pull in there and you can see all legs as you pull in there, you have a perception, all right, there's nobody coming, and I'm going to fly through that. If you come through there and you don't know where people are coming, you slow down. You get down to that 20 mile an hour, 15 mile an hour as you navigate it. So to retrofit that one, they went out there and they've been working on getting the planting to grow up to disguise that a little bit. The second issue that they had, which was also the yielding to people circulating the roundabout, was they took the yield signs and made flashing LED signs. So they've got the red LED signs that as you're coming up there that flash, and that's something that we have discussed with Amy and the mayor as a possible. If we continue to, once we get this open, if we continue to have problems with people yielding to the circulating traffic, that putting those flashing LED signs would be an option as well. And those have seemed to have worked well on the Talmadge roundabout.
Thank you.
I got some more here.
I just
Ms.
have one
McFerrin.
question, because I really appreciate that the construction people were doing all of this and trying to keep the north and southbound open. And, you know, right now we're coming into the winter months, and to get things done, would it be appropriate to shut it all down and get things done? I mean, I honestly can't even imagine how they worked all around all the traffic as it was, and now we're coming down to like the timing.
We are close enough now to the completion date that I don't think that's necessary. In our discussion of things and getting that final striping done up for the winter time, the final paving on it I just don't. We've had discussions on getting that final paving done, and it just doesn't seem a realistic option to try to get that paving done. The other option is, as it was mentioned earlier, is that 91 traffic, sending that traffic. It's a state route, so our closest state route, east or west, that we're going to have to send people to, is it going to be 43? I mean, it's a long way. I mean, that was the main reason why we just could not send that traffic out. So the north-south had to be maintained, and that created a very, very complex maintenance of traffic to try for not only the contractor to try to work, but for also people to navigate.
Mr. Fury? No? Okay. Mr. Steele, you had
Yeah.
something else?
Amy, am I right in understanding that the final pavement up there is not going to be done until June of next year?
Correct.
Okay. So a 90-day project is now taking 9 months?
The project was a year
It's going to
project.
it's going to take a year or 9 months or whatever it is, substantially triple what we were told it would take to get this project done.
This project was always scheduled for a year project. The project actually was supposed to start in
Well,
July
the-
of last year.
The sign that went out for the roundabout
Let her
itself.
finish, please.
Let me talk about the entire project, because the roundabout, for the most part, I pushed real hard to get that paved. I think it was paved on most of it was paved on the 7th of October. That took a lot of pushing and some emails that I had sent, as well as other emails trying to push the contractor to get in with the 15-day forecast for weather. But in reality, because of the material that we're using out there, we don't want to basically jeopardize and have an unrideable pavement associated with some of the corrections that do have to occur. The project in and of itself was a 12-month project to complete. In November of 2015, we met with the utility companies, asked them what time frame they needed to make their utility relocations. With that, everybody was pretty much in agreement that a mid-July date was the completion date for these utilities. The gas company made their work done, got it all out of the way. Ohio Edison was way behind on all of their movements. Ohio Edison supports about 5 or 6 different utilities. Ohio Edison actually showed up on the site on July 29th when they were supposed to be done July 15th. It caused the start to occur last October instead of in July due to utility delay in movement. But the schedule that basically was made up for the schedule did have the paving occurring in October, as I had discussed at the previous council meeting, that their intent was to try and get that all done before the end of the month. Again, means, method, schedule, manpower, those are the contractor's requirements. Making sure that they're billing it per specification, so we're getting what we're paying for. ODOT is monitoring those types of things and making the requests, and has made those requests to the contractor. Again, they can't control how timely they respond to those and getting those done. But we are in a situation that basically we have a number of places we have had roads that we have not put the final surface course on and opened up. Other communities do it. It's the lift. And the road will be opened and striped in its permanent operating condition. That surface course will be minus. Like I said, in your curb lanes, the actual lane is 5 feet off the curb, so that takes all those most of those catch basins out of play as far as those, and the raised castings will be properly tapered with asphalt so that there'll be a transition, for that. But yes, you're right in that everything will be complete. They're basically, the contractor is charged with making everything else except for the surface course complete this construction
And that's
season.
all the pavement up and down 91 from Post Road north, that's not going to have the surface course
That will
on
not
it.
have the surface course on, correct.
Okay. Great, I have one more.
One more, okay.
The gentleman from ODOT, okay, the 2 roundabouts that you said, the one in Talmadge and the one in Green, do you know what the traffic counts are going through those, where the most cars come from? Because it's 241 in Green is the state route, and it's 261 in Talmadge.
And I do not, off the top of my head, I do not know what the traffic volumes are there. And both of those were local projects. City of Talmadge built the one in Talmadge, and City of Green built the one in City of Green. So I'm unfamiliar with what the final. I'm very familiar with the one in Talmadge. I drive through it a lot.
Right.
I'm not too familiar with the one in Green, other than discussions with the city themselves on the roundabout and how it's functioning.
Okay, well, the only reason I asked is I don't think either one of those roundabouts has the traffic flow through them that we have through 91 and Glenwood. Not even close.
I cannot say this with certainty because I wasn't able to pull up the traffic count map here as Mike was talking. but the roundabout in Green, I believe, carries about 27 or 28,000 cars a day through it on the main approach, which is higher than your volumes on 91. I can get those
We had
numbers and
those
send them over to
available.
Amy tomorrow.
That wasn't in the study that the city had
The original
when we
site?
were doing it.
I believe we
It was
had that.
about
It was there.
16,000 to 12,000 was in 16,000 cars on 91 in our city and about 12,000 cars on 241, if I remember
In
rightly,
Green.
in Green.
That section of 241.
And that was, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That section of 241 is a commercial district, and I'm almost certain it's above 20,000. If I can pull the map up, I'll try.
It was, and the other thing is, that's, everything you're talking about, the one in Green, is from the traffic circle back to 77. Okay? Those cars don't get down to that traffic circle.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but at this point, I think we could talk all day about traffic count, those kind of things. We have a roundabout that's been built in Twinsburg. We need to get it complete. We can't really evaluate it or have a true perspective on what's going to happen and how drivers are going to act and how everything's going to work until we get it complete. I know we're going to have further discussions about this, but I mean, at this point, I thank those that came in to talk tonight. I hope I answered a couple of questions that you may have had regarding what's going on, but in my mind, we really can't fully evaluate this thing until it's done, it's complete, and we see some normal driving going through there. Because right now, there's nothing normal going through that roundabout. So that's where I stand, and hopefully we can, move forward with this meeting.
All right, done. Thank you.
And then there'll be
All
a
right,
survey.
what I do want to do, I want to get on to the audience participation. First of all, I want to thank Mayor Yates, Amy Moore, and the ODOT and GPD for coming here tonight. And I hope that may have cleared up some of your questions or some of your concern that you had. However, I do want to get to the residents portion. We will allow everybody their opportunity, those that signed up, to come up and speak. Typically, we have a three-person maximum on any one subject, but tonight we're going to open that up. We'll let whoever wants to speak their 5 minutes, go ahead and speak your 5 minutes. So with that being said, we're going to move on to audience participation. Shannon, who do we have?
First, we have Paul Levine.
Please give your name and address.
Paul Levine, 9337 Adam Run. Just want to say good evening to the mayor, council. Main reason why I'm here tonight is for the roundabout, but I have a different perspective than most people here. I believe that after hearing what they said, I agree. It probably was not opened under the best conditions, but the end game is, in my mind, it's going to be the best thing for the city of Twinsburg. I've been going up and down that road for years, stuck in 20, 30 minutes of traffic, and the 2 weeks that's been open, I'm in 3 minutes or 4 minutes of traffic. It's very simple. There's another very simple thing. It's 15 miles an hour. You say there's aggressive drivers, pull them over, ticket them. It's 15 miles an hour. My daughter is here. I have 30 years of driving. I go 15 miles an hour through it. This young lady over here is 15 and a half. She has 3 months of driving. A temp person. Jaden, would you like to tell him how fast you go through that roundabout? 15 miles an hour. This is not rocket science. If you have aggressive drivers, pull them over. I disagree with the chief this time. There should be a car there somewhere, maybe not with the flashes, and pull them over. Get the police cars off at Cannon, which should be 35 miles an hour, not 25, and where there should be 15, which I agree, 15 is a great speed for that area, and pull them over. This is a very simple roundabout. You look left, and I'll say one more thing. I'm not the fastest guy in this room. Mayor Yates is. I could run 15 miles an hour, and most likely stop if I was paying attention before I hit a car in a roundabout. Most people who are decent runners could run 15 miles an hour for about 100 yards. But they could also stop if they were going to run into something if they're paying attention. It's very simple. I don't know how we do it, but a 15-year-old could do it, so 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80-year-old drivers should be able to do it too. It's a simple thing. As far as the lighting, that was the one thing I was going to mention tonight. that needs to be shut down until there is lighting. That lighting is ridiculous, because that is where someone who's 50 years old like myself will not be able to see cars. Not because I'm going 15 miles an hour or 10 miles an hour, because there's no lighting. That lighting should have been addressed a long time ago. With that said, one last thing. I think that as of right now, besides the accidents, which it's horrible those are happening, is that, and again, I'm not pro or anti the second roundabout. I see the success when it was open. Do we actually need a second roundabout? At this point, if the first roundabout is doing its job, once we make sure that people are going 15 miles an hour and avoiding accidents. It's very simple. Cannon Road, I don't think people, first of all, again, I think it should be 35. People go down 20 now because there's a police presence. But the whole point is, if you have a presence there and you train the people that it's 15 miles an hour for their safety, I mean, it's very simple. The sign is first of all, the sign is too far away or too close to the roundabout saying going 15. You need to maybe back it up another 75 feet. And then you will avoid your accidents. 15 miles an hour. It's very simple. Look left, 15 miles an hour. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shannon next.
Next, we have Michael Turrell.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Michael A. Turrell, 9934 Lake Drive. I would like to commend Mayor Yates in being hands-on and acting in the best interest of public safety. Good job. Thank you. There was a small Facebook poll. Not a small Facebook poll. I did not conduct this. I did not chime in. I did not comment. This was not me. You guys are talking about doing a straw poll. Well, there's one, and I've said a couple times, it's too early. We got to learn this thing yet. And I jotted down some of the comments. If you guys would be interested in hearing the comments or not, I mean, if you don't want to, I can move on, but I can give you the real quick specifics. There were 3 people that were neutral on the issue. They were tired of hearing about the roundabout. Basically, all 3 of them said the same thing because it's like the hot issue on Roundtable. And I'm tired about monitoring these damn posts on roundabouts. We had 58 people that were for the roundabouts. I'll read a few of those comments. If tax dollars, delays, and detours are the consequences, then I am for it. I'm for it because it's paid for itself in Facebook entertainment. People need to navigate it. People need to learn to yield. It should have been bigger. It has to be designed and built properly. 91 in Glenwood is too small. 4 roundabout against bad drivers. This guy, I had to talk to him because he kept calling people stupid, which bothered me a little bit. It will weed out the ones who can't drive. I feel bad for drivers having a hard time. They just need to put up better signs. Okay, I did throw one comment in there. Yes, 24 signs is just not enough. Yes, the 24 signs is absolutely obscene information overload. There's no way your brain can process all of that. It's crazy. So we had 58 people for. We had 129 people that voted against it. Already too many accidents. We do not need another one at Meadowwood. So against bad design. I said in the beginning, accident waiting to happen. I drive Liberty and Ravenna every day to avoid it. If it wasn't broke, why fix it? Friend was hit, still his fault. Too small, too much traffic, shoved down our throats. Poor design, poorly executed, better options, death trap. Someone put 2 words, death trap. This roundabout, not designed well at all, major fail. Should have been voted on. Put the traffic light back. No. Yes, we should have been able to vote on it. Okay, and it just goes on and on from there. I'll stop. Gentlemen from ODOT and GPD, I'm glad you guys stuck around because there's other people that want to talk about this. I'm in construction myself, Mr. ODOT, and you said that the city decided to open this thing up. Me as a contractor, when I'm working on electrical systems, I do not let the customer touch that panel until I am done and I hand that job over to them. And then it is their panel. You are in charge of that job. You own that job. City of Twinsburg is your customer. They cannot tell you, we're going to open this thing up. And you say, well, okay, you go ahead and open it up. That is your job. You own it. You own that responsibility as to when that thing is open, because you know when the time is right to open it or not. Mr. GPD, horrible, terrible, obscene design for something that small. You talked about the one at Maslin Steeps in Green Township that has 10,000 cars per day. I just looked it up. The Liberty Glenwood roundabout has 11,000 cars per day, which is more than the Massillon East, which is much bigger than the Liberty Glenwood, which is a major state route. I believe I looked that up one time. It has 30,000 cars per day. Horrible design. Should not have been built on that. This thing, I don't know what the answer is. I said a year ago that this thing was a disaster waiting to happen. And I still hope to God that I am wrong on this thing. And if I'm wrong, I will absolutely admit to it. I've done that several times. I don't know where I'm at on my time because my timer just
1
went
minute.
away. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I will try to wrap this up very quickly, and I
hope
appreciate your patience. I've counted 10 accidents that people reported. Mr. Steele said 16? Oh, who knows? I talked to TPD today. They have records of 8 accidents. Not all the paperwork is in from all of them. I almost T-boned someone yesterday because they did not, or earlier this week, because they did not yield coming in. And had I not locked up the brakes in the middle of the roundabout, this cute little BMW would have had a Chevy bow tie swiftly implanted right in the driver's door, and it would have been a T-bone major collision. Now, it's only a matter of time before there is going to be a very bad, serious accident. And it can be your wife, your daughter, your son. It could be anybody. More signs is not the answer. And you guys really need to think about what happens with this thing before we even think about one at Meadowwood. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Mike DeSillo.
I just got to comment on that real quick. So a couple things. First, the city did not make the decision to open this thing up. I'm not sure what.
No, we didn't.
I'm not sure what you heard, but I mean, this was opened up, and I shared my earlier comments on October 27th. I was here after hours calling, had a commitment, what I thought was a commitment from, you can stay seated, that's all right.
Okay.
Yeah, you can stay seated, so.
I didn't say you made the call. He said you made the call.
Okay.
He
And so, I didn't hear that, and so I had thought I had a commitment to shut down the east-west traffic because in my mind, I said accidents were gonna happen, and that didn't happen. Unfortunately, this is not a completely city-run project. This is not like an interior roadway where we hire the contractor, we go out to bid, we control every aspect, we're on site monitoring it. This is an ODOT project, and we have ODOT people here and different people here that are supervising this project on a daily basis. So any request for me, I mean, I had 6 people in a room today that I had convinced to do what we did today. I didn't just pick up the phone and said, go do this, make it happen. It doesn't happen like that. So it's, I just want to make sure everyone's clear that this was not a city decision to open this up. And quite frankly, none of us expected or knew what was going to happen. And I've been aggressively pursuing some kind of resolution for the last 10 days, trying to slow the bleeding, so to speak. And so, it's one of those things where, from a design standpoint, you tear into GPD. I mean, they've designed something that, in my mind, we haven't really given a fair shot at seeing what it's going to do and how it's going to operate. I mean, it's still a full-blown construction site, and until we do that, I don't think any of us has the expertise or the knowledge to say this was a bad design. We need to let this thing operate and really evaluate it before we come and start jumping on engineers. And I mean, I know it's a frustrating thing, and I'm sorry if I sound frustrated, but that's where I'm at, and I've shared that we've made a decision. We're going to get it complete. We're going to get it open without barrels, without all the stuff, the way that it's supposed to be, and then we're all going to take a look at it. And we may be sitting here talking about this in 3 months and saying it was bad or it was good or things are getting better or whatever. I don't know that yet, and I don't want to speculate on what may or may not happen. But right now, my job that I'm working at is to get it open, get it complete, and see hopefully we can all adapt to it. So, I'm sorry, Mike.
Mr.
Sorry to
DeSillo.
jump in front of you there.
Mike DeSillo, 11296 Palmer Lane. Anything I reference in these studies or reports is not quoted verbatim. It will be paraphrased. I was hoping I would never have to come to a meeting like this. The roundabout has been operating for 10 days or so and has recorded 7 accidents or more, to my knowledge. Why am I not surprised because I read the report by GDP group that stated that roundabouts have more crashes than signalized intersections. The only difference is they're not as severe. How many of you have read that report? Anyone?
Yeah, I have, but it's in the initial stages.
Did you understand it?
Yeah, I understand that
Oh,
it's
very
not,
good.
it's
You
not
told
through
me
the
I
whole
didn't
roundabout.
understand.
It's during
This
the
is 5
initial
minutes.
stages.
Well,
This
you
is
told me
5
I
minutes.
didn't understand.
He asked if I
Don't-
Go ahead, Mr. DeSillo. Go ahead.
You may recall, I pointed these things out at various council meetings, council committee meetings, and informal personal meetings with some of you council people. Mayor Yates, your signature is on this project. While you didn't call the play, your predecessor did, but you carried the ball at the first public hearing. Why Mayor Prokop, City Councilman, and City Engineer went to this route is beyond comprehension, save the fact that federal funding drives it. And that's been noted previously. The report stated that both options would minimize and eliminate delays, and the roundabout was more costly. More options or more lanes and advanced signal controls would have solved the problem and saved money. Unfortunately, when you take federal funding, strings are attached, driving up the cost. By the way, federal funding is our money. So is the city, the county, and the state. It's all our money. I said this previously too. So no matter where you get the money, it's coming out of our pockets. I still maintain, in fact, I'm more convinced that this intersection is not comparable to the one at Green. The traffic in Green empties into the business district before it even gets to the roundabout. That's a fact. I've been watching that TV camera for 6 years. I have yet to see a pedestrian cross that street at all hours of the day and night. I'm retired, I have time. I pointed these differences to Messrs. McDermott's, Ceresi, Fury, and you, Mayor Yates, when you were on council. All of them are now seeing that this is the right, and it's true, except for you. Finally, this is the first roundabout I know of that has pedestrian signalization. If the people from GDP and ODOT could tell me where there is another one that has pedestrian signalization, I'd like to know. Why on earth would we need it when the report indicated that at the peak hours in the morning and the afternoon, not a single pedestrian was noted during the study? No pedestrian traffic. Why would we need it in the peak hours? That's when you have a danger. The report also stated that the roundabout would increase and would enhance the traffic flow during off-peak hours. We never had a problem on 91 in off-peak hours. We had a problem in the morning, 6 to 8, and in the evening, 5 to 7. That's when the backups occurred. We already have enough evidence, and this is not going to work. Please reject the second roundabout at Eaton's Meadowwood and investigate restoring signalization at Glenwood. We already have seen increased traffic on Eaton's Drive and Meadowwood because of the roundabout. Now that it's semi-finished, people are avoiding it, probably because of the accidents that are happening and the insecurity of getting through the roundabout. I know how to drive a roundabout. I've driven many of them. A lot of people don't. We don't have the time to educate them before something serious happens.
1 minute, Mr. DeSillo.
I am sure the residents in Meadowwood have seen the increase as well as I have. You live there. I'm sure you've seen it on your street. I know a lot of people in the area. We also want to see, we don't want to see a fatality before action is taken. I'm very happy to meet with any of you and all of you at your convenience. I'm available. I have a stack of information that I looked at all during this whole process for the last 10 years. It's been going on for 10 years, the widening. And that was the original intent. Widen 91. That would have solved the problem with signalization. Thank you.
Thank you. Shannon, next.
Next, we have Karen Clinton.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, Law Director, ladies, Karen, Shannon. Karen Clinton, Glenwood Drive. There's been a lot of talk about the roundabout tonight, and so I won't spend too much time there because I have a couple other things I want to talk about. But I will say it's a little ironic, this being voting day and everything, because we the people, it's important for you to understand who you represent here. All of you represent us. We the people. And we the people came out in droves and said, we do not want this roundabout. All of us said that. But we were ignored. And we were also told, and comments were made, that the current council sits up here and they make the decisions. Some of the council was wined and dined and were educated on how wonderful these roundabouts were going to be. We, the people, said, no, we don't want it. We, the people, were told that you were smarter and you're going to make the decisions to keep us safe. Well, you failed us. We're not safe. We're having accidents and we're getting injured for a roundabout that we didn't want. We've spent numerous dollars on something we didn't want and we don't need. But yet, we, the people, are ignored. And with that said, I have come to you over the years, Bill Fury, Mr. Ceresi, Sam Scafidi, Seth Roden. And I have said, and these are the faces that I've seen over and over and over and over, and begged and pled about our safety. Fire, police. Our numbers are still down, so now I'm going to move on. Because we've also been insulted tonight that we need to be trained to learn how to drive. We don't know how to drive. We don't know how to get around the circle. We're told we're going to be trained because you're going to mark lines. Well, that's wonderful. What are you going to do in a month when it snows? We're not going to have any lines. With that said, I'm going to go into Chief Morgan. Chief Morgan, I love you, darling. He's forced to look for grants for money to support the things that they need. Not the wants, but the needs. Okay? We are now functioning. He stood before you a few weeks ago, I don't remember how many council meetings ago, and told you that they ran a two-man operation for a full code. Do you want us to show up the City of Twinsburg Fire Department for your loved one with nobody to run a code? You have one person in the back with that loved one trying to do CPR and keep them alive when they get them to the hospital? I begged this council for years and years. We need more money. We need more manpower. It's just that simple. I hear, I wrote down, I took a figure of $475,000 extra dollars. Back in the day, we said when they said they were going to charge for our EMS runs, we said, you know, we provided for that with our taxes. Oh no, we're going to over and above for the ones that don't that have insurance are going to pay for it. And so I see a figure of $475,000. I want to know how much of that went back to the fire department, because that's what we were told. Oh, it's going to support the fire department. No, it's been dumped into the general fund. Where did that money go? We need more fire. We need more police. I have to come here and I have to argue and beg for police cars. I have to beg for fire and police personnel. And now the simple answer for this roundabout is, oh, we're going to take an officer and we're going to park him up there with lights. And so we got 3 to 4 officers supporting our community now, and you want to take one of them and park them at a roundabout that we didn't need and didn't want? It's ludicrous. You need to take a serious look at what our needs are and not our wants. And now I'll be moving on to our wants. I went today and I voted. And when I voted, there were ordinances that were brought back to the ballot that we already said, no, we don't want to change the zoning so
One
that we
minute,
can build
Mrs.
cluster houses. We said no. But our council, in their wisdom, said we're going to put it on the ballot because that's what you do. You bring it back and you bring it back and you jam this stuff down our throat and we don't want it. We don't want it. We say no and you don't listen. We the people, everybody sitting here tonight, you represent us. Ted, you represent us. We didn't want that roundabout. We're stuck with it. So now we're going to have to do something with it. We're going to have to make this thing work one way or the other. I agree. But in the meantime, you need to keep the people up there safe. That's your job. That's your job. We're paying for it. You represent us. That's your job. Now, I voted no. I will publicly say I voted no. I voted no for the rezoning of those parcels. And I'll tell you why I voted no, because you want to sell it to get money for a golf course. For the golf course, you want to build this elaborate clubhouse that we don't need. What we need is fire, police, first and foremost, we the people, health, safety of the constituents of this community. That's what I want to see. That's where we need to see our money spent. I think that's what's most important. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we move on, I just have a comment that I need to make here, and I would hope that Mrs. Clinton listens. She made two statements that I have to discuss. Number one, I know me for one, and I don't know about my colleagues here, but I very much doubt it, that any of us were wined and dined in order to put up my turn. None of us were wined and dined. Any one of these council people up here, I'd like to disagree with you that I was not wined and dined.
Go on a trip with ProCop.
And
You are out of order, Mrs. Clinton. Please sit down.
and I walked the roundabout.
This is not for her. She made a statement, okay? And I'm answering her statement.
Yeah.
And she's answering yours. She's giving you evidence.
Where's the evidence? Anyway, next, when you tell me that the fire chief is forced to look for grants for money for things that he needs, no, that's part of every department head's job. Okay? That's what department heads do. That's what cities do. That's what government agencies are all forced to do. In this day and age, we all look for grants. So I disagree with those two statements that you made. He's not forced to, but that is part of his job. And your time is up. I'm sorry.
And you're free to disagree, Sam, but I'm going to tell
Absolutely.
you. You
You
know,
and I
I have
disagree a lot.
called to you. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. I'm the one that spent, I have been a 35 plus, I won't go beyond 35 plus year resident of this community. I've been the one that slept with one eye open, so 3 in the morning, God forbid if we got the call that somebody here is injured or sick, that I could go out there to help you. I know what I'm talking about. I've walked the walk. I don't just talk the talk, Sam. We need, and you know we've had this conversation, we are down, we don't even have a decent service department, and you want to build a clubhouse. We've had that conversation, and you get mad at me, and you can say, look, I'm not running for office, and I'm not looking for friends. I've been in this community coming up on 40 years, and I want what's best for the health, safety of the constituents of this community, and I would hope that everybody else here does too.
Mrs. Clinton, you're not the only one. You're not the only one, okay? And all I'm saying to you is all of the statements that you made.
Sam, I'm just saying redirect your attention. Your focus on health and safety.
Other folks would like to speak, okay? They want to talk. But when you say that I was wined and dined, you are so wrong. You are so, and don't make that for other
My name is Mary Papa, 2923 Granby Circle. First, I'd like to thank you for closing the roundabout. Roundabout. I'm not a speaker. I don't do this, so I'm nervous. So just bear with me. I have a question for. Are they still here? Yeah, they are. Have we made history? Has there ever been a roundabout that's had this many accidents already?
Mrs. Papa, you need to direct your
Oh,
comments
to you, okay.
to
All right,
the
I'm
board
sorry,
here. Yes.
I'm not familiar
Yeah,
with
you need
this.
to bring
Okay.
that up here. Thank you.
That's what I'd like to know. If we made history, I understand what you're saying about we should have never opened it up. We should have never, ever opened it up. I'm willing to wait, but my question is, if it still continues, these accidents, what's the plan? Are we just going to let it keep going? I mean, when the construction guys were actually telling the cars where to go, this was what happened to me. I was coming down 91, going towards Solon, and as I was pulling in, he stopped us, and I said, am I going to be able to go on Glenwood? He said, no. I said, okay. So I started to go, and then another construction worker stopped me, and I said, so we're not going to be able to go there? And he said, oh, yeah, you can go there. So, okay. I was able to do it. On the way coming back, this would be coming down Glenwood as if I was going towards CVS. I was in the far right lane. There was a car. No, there was a car in front of me, and there was a car beside of me. The car that was in front of me wanted to go towards Solon on 91. I hope I'm explaining this right. I'm looking at the arrows, and the arrows are so confusing. It makes it look like you could make a left turn. I'm thinking, there's no way. The construction worker actually let the guy make a left-hand turn into 91. I don't know how long he was doing this. I just went, oh my God. That's the first comment I made on the roundabout. Because I was like, are you going to be able to make a left-hand turn here? The construction workers did not know what they were doing. It was so confusing. Oh, and one more comment, and then I'm done because I'm too nervous.
You're doing good.
To the comment that the guy said, and that he's not the only one. I've heard hundreds of comments. The flow was so much better. Oh, I get to work so much quicker. Okay, I go that way to work, and I'm not getting any quicker. But could it possibly be because the people are avoiding it? They're still cutting through Sherwin. They're cutting through McTarian. One poor old lady said, I'm not getting my prescriptions at CVS anymore. I'm going to go down to, I don't know if she said Walgreens or something, but I think this thing went off. See, I'm bad. I broke it. But my main question is, what will we do if this continues? Once all the barrels are gone, the roads are complete, what are we going to do? That's my main thing. I'm done.
Thank you.
That is it.
Wait, next, anybody else?
That is it. We're
Okay.
done.
Mayor.
I can't give you an answer what we're going to do. I mean, you know, your comments, I appreciate you coming and making those, but the word construction was completely embedded in everything that you said. So I don't know. Right now, the construction is frustrating. The construction, in my mind, is one of the largest issues causing these accidents. The construction is what is deterring from the normal use of this thing. I don't know what's going to happen when it's fully open and complete. And I understand, and I'm going to address that. If it is fully open and it's complete, and there's continued to be issues with that roundabout, then we're going to have further discussions about it. I'm not going to go hide in my office and pray that there's not going to be an accident every night and watch you guys bang around in it. I mean, if there's issues, it'll be wide open. I'll be up there still standing, watching cars go by. I promise you that. And we're going to have open dialogue, and we'll talk about it. And it's not just me. I got 7 people here that are going to be doing the same thing. So, you know, I just want to reassure you that I don't know what's going to happen. I just want to get the damn thing open, and let's see what happens with it. That's my goal. Okay?
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else want to comment on the resident comments?
I have one, yeah.
Mr. Steele,
One
go
thing
ahead.
to say. Mr. Levine, when he, at part of there, said he could run 15 miles an hour for 100 yards, and he would be able to get himself stopped quickly. Probably could. He looked to me like he weighed 165 to 180 pounds. It's a lot harder to stop a 2,500-pound car quickly. It's going to slide. It's not going to stop on a dime. And that's my comment.
Okay. Mr. Fury.
I was also going to comment to Mr. Levine that Cannon Road's 25 miles an hour because it's a residential district, and all the residential districts in Twinsburg are 25 miles an hour. We don't have the option of making it a 35-mile-an-hour road. So that's all I had.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, you know what? We're going to take a 5-minute recess, and we will come back in 5 minutes and move on to committee reports.
Thank you.
The regular council meeting.
Hold on.
I'll go. Start over here.
Mr. Fury, we're at the council communication and committee reports.
Thank you. I had an opportunity to go to the planning and zoning workshop last Friday to take classes on branding. We also went to one on hot topics and planning with ways to make your community better for more attractive to work and live in, and an interesting seminar on planning for a web-enriched community, which Mayor Gates has been looking into. We've done in the past. We look for Wi-Fi opportunities and ways to get communication better out to our residents. So I think that was worthwhile, and I think others will tell you what they learned there as well. Last night, Monday, November 7th, I was at a planning commission meeting where where the planning commission voted on a final subdivision plat for Shepherd Preserve with the following conditions: that they need to get a homeowners association approval document completed, the stormwater approval by the city engineer be completed, that they have to get a permanent lighting plan in, and a soil and water study, which is all fairly standard for a final plat. It was voted on 5-0. The next scheduled meeting would be November 21st at 7 o'clock, and we're not sure exactly what's going to be on that agenda. Many residents received a letter from First Energy last week that several have questions on. First Energy sent you a letter that said they were no longer going to be the electric supplier for NOPEC. The city is a NOPEC consumer for electric, and we have our own gas aggregation. So whatever NOPEC negotiates for an electric rate, you are automatically included in that discount unless you opt out. And you can opt out of a NOPEC contract with no penalty at any time. First Energy was the supplier and have said that they're going to, at the end of the year, no longer support that contract. NOPEC has since hired today or yesterday a company called Nextra Energy. At this time, there's nothing the residents of Twinsburg need to do. You are getting electricity at 0516, which is the rate that you've been fixed at until the end of the year. And prior to the end of the year, you'll be notified of what the new rate will be for that contract to give you an opportunity to decide if you want to stay interstate or not. If you want to look at other rates, you can look in the Public Utilities Commission's website. It's PUCO, apples to apples. There's one for gas and there's one for electric. Go to electric and go into residential. But again, at this time, there's no action that you need to take. You will be in this program till the end of the year at 0516, and you'll be continued with Nextra at whatever rate they have. That's all I have right now. If there's anybody that has questions on that, I'm easy to find. My email address is on the website, and my cell phone number is as well, so I'd be happy to answer questions.
Thank you. Mr. Ceresi.
I've had no meetings this past couple weeks. I do have a Twins Day meeting tomorrow night, which was postponed from last week because of the Indians game. So then I will have information after that. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. McFerrin.
I also attended the planning zoning workshop on Friday, and I found it very valuable. The first class I went to was on looking planning for action, visioning, and reactivating neighborhoods, and I'm excited to spend some time talking to department heads about that and see what we can take from that seminar. The chamber meeting is tomorrow morning, the chamber board meeting, and the golf advisory meeting is next Monday at 7 p.m.
That's it. Thank you very much. Good evening. Under Finance Committee meeting, we did have a Finance Committee meeting this evening. We had a few items that we discussed. Number one, we talked about the 2017 permanent appropriations. That's for next year, of course. And it was also recommended that we move the temporary appropriations to permanent due to the fact that the budget was very tight this year. All the department heads and the mayor worked very hard to bring this budget to where it was, and from what it was to what it is today. And it was a very, Karen, could you just jump in there real quick? What was that percentage?
2% down compared to this year for the general fund, and overall budget down 7% compared to this year.
Right. So that's really that's a really a great accomplishment. Again, kudos to all the departments and to the mayor for working so hard to bring that to fruition. So it had been recommended that we just pass it as a permanent appropriations. Finally, we talked about building our reserves for 2017, and the finance director, Karen's going to come to the finance committee with further recommendations. All of council seemed to be receptive to what she had to say about that and the way we're going to go about it, and you'll be hearing more about that in the near future. Other than that, that was the end of that meeting, and that's the end of my report tonight. Mr. Roden.
I have not had any committees meet, so I have nothing to report this evening. Thank you.
Mr. Steele.
ARB met last Thursday. They approved a maintenance shed that's going to be built at the fitness center. Yeah, it's going to go next to the spinning room, by the driveway, and the parking lot next to the library. At the at least that's their plans. I was kind of taken back when I heard it because
Yeah, it must be something small.
20 by 30 or something like that. I was taken back because we haven't heard about it. The other thing, they approved three more houses in our city, and they had several different sign applications that they approved. And that was the end of that. And I did also go to the planning and zoning thing, and it was interesting. The one thing I would say that I took away from it is planning people, Mr. Finch, you guys would build skyscrapers in our city if you could. But the one thing I took away from it is if you're going to do something, you need to sell it to the residents and get the residents behind it. Sorry, guys. Really? That's what I got.
That's it?
Yeah.
Thank you. Mrs. Stauffer.
My committees didn't meet. I have no report.
No report? Okay. Mayor, you're up.
Yes, thank you. All right, I'm not going to talk about the roundabout, I promise.
Just a quick
Just talk about some, and I'm going to try to keep this report short, just some things that have gone on. The Indians provided us a very exciting season, I think ones that we weren't expecting. The city organized a watch party, and I just want to really thank those who helped make that happen. It was brought to us on like a Monday. We put it together, and we had 150 people. And I just really want to thank Summit Sound. It's a local business here in town, Roger Buell, who brought out, we had 12-foot screens with high-def equipment, stereos, I mean, everything. It was actually a really fun time, and a lot of residents enjoyed it. And it was great because now we know what we're doing. We know how to get it set up, and hopefully, if the Cavs make it to the playoffs again, we can get this all set up on a quicker and a little easier than we did last time. But I just want to thank Roger and all the work he put in over a couple-day period to make it happen for us. I did attend the Truck or Treat, and this is an event we do for kids. We bring in a lot of the city's vehicles, from service to fire to police vehicles, and we set up inside the fitness center. And I walked in a few minutes late and helped hand out balloons, and so we gave away 700 plus balloons to kids. And so that doesn't count the parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles that came with those kids. So we probably had a couple thousand people there. Despite the weather, it was packed, and it was a really fun event, and just want to thank everybody that helped. There was a lot of volunteers from Parks and Rec and people that helped participate in that. There is a community dinner coming up for Thanksgiving. This is on November 22nd up at the community center up behind the pool. It's a free dinner to anyone. It happens, I believe this is the 5th year that it's going on. So I just want to invite everyone to come to that. And then we have opened a new cafe called The Berg at the fitness center, and I just wanted to announce that. It is open for business as of yesterday. And this was the place where Subway was in Which, and now the city is operating it, and there seems to be a lot of excitement about it, and they've been pretty busy for the last couple of days, so I don't know if council's been there yet, but I invite you to stop by. I've had lunch there the last 2 days. But anyway, that's open, and then lastly, well, a couple more things. I just want to say congratulations to our football team this year. You know, this team has been through a rebuilding process the last couple of years. Last year was a very difficult season, but this year they won a game early on, and then they actually won their last 3 games to finish the season. So I just want to compliment the coaching staff and those players, because they're really undersized, and their turnout hasn't been great, but they really have come together as a team, and it's been fun to watch. And then lastly, I just want to thank everyone for getting out to vote today. I think all our polls were packed, and just, you know, it's one of the most important things we do living in this country, and I just want to thank everyone for getting out and exercising their rights. That's all I have.
Thank you. All right, we have departments tonight?
Yes, Department has report. Chief Noga, you want to start?
Good evening. During the month of October, the City of Twinsburg Communications Center generated 2,265 calls for service among the Twinsburg Police and Fire Departments and the Reminderville Police and Fire Departments. The total call count for the year is 21,563. Twinsburg police officers arrested and or cited 143 suspects into court on 218 different counts. Officers issued 169 written warnings and 1 parking citation. Officers investigated 54 traffic crashes, of which 6 were injury crashes, 12 were on private property, and none were fatal. Just a couple of things I'd like to bring to your attention. This Saturday, November 12th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., the Police Explorers are holding their annual food drive. They'll be set up over by Citizens Bank in Town Center over on the 91 side. They're looking for non-perishable items, and they will go to the local community food center. I think this is the 3rd year they've done it, so I'm really proud of the fact that they've taken it upon themselves to do this as service to our community. Finally, if you look, you can barely see my beard that's growing in. It's because it's not the color it used to be. We are participating once again, the police department, in the Movember campaign. And Movember program, it's designed to focus on men's health issues, particularly prostate, testicular cancer, and also mental health and suicide prevention. Since 2003, the Movember Foundation has funded over 1,200 projects that relate to men's health. So if you'd like more information about it, we're trying to raise some money for this cause. You can contact Officer Mike Krejci at the department. You can also go online to us.movember.com for more information. I'll check back here in 2 weeks and see if it's even more. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've grown a full beard. So, and that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
I have a question.
Oh, question.
We lost another guy, did we not?
Yes, we did. Well, we didn't lose him, but he decided to take a job in the private sector.
But he left the department, and now we're back to being another guy short. How short are we?
We are down, I would say, 3 officers at this point. So we're working on it.
Yeah, but we've been working on that for 2 years.
Brian, you're hard to replace.
I know.
So
there is something about me that
we're close. We're close. We're
good.
Moving forward
because we need to get these guys up
Absolutely.
to snuff and get your shifts up to and.
Absolutely, can't argue with that on that. So.
All right,
thanks.
We have one more question.
But even though you're down 3 officers, do you have enough money to pay 3 officers if you got them?
Today?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I would.
You're funded for that?
Yeah.
And you got the 8 new cars in?
Mm-hmm.
And everything's good?
I hope so.
Thank you.
I believe everything's
Just
good.
checking.
Okay. All right.
Thanks,
Anything
Chief.
else? All right, thank you.
Who do you have next?
We'll have Chief Morgan come up. He's been here the longest. So.
Good evening. In the month of October, the Twinsburg Fire Department responded to 218 calls for service. That brings us to a total of 2,122 for the year, and that's a 4% increase over this through the end of October of last year. Just one of the notable events wanted to mention on October 26th, we had a structure fire in the the Presidential Parkway condos, and fortunately we were able to limit that to damage in 1 unit. It's a 16-unit building, so it had a lot of potential. We appreciated the assistance from Macedonia, Oakwood, Solon, and Bedford fire departments on that. Fire prevention completed 86 inspections through the course of October. Unfortunately, we're past due on about 157 inspections, but we're working diligently to try to get caught up on those. We also worked on 6 fire investigations through the course of the month. We did also have 26 public education events, fire education events. We contacted estimated about 2,900 people over the course of the month in October. Of course, that includes our open house, which we estimated about 1,200 people in attendance. And we also completed 102 hours, or 102 different training sessions, totaling about 390 hours of training. Points of interest, the weather warning sirens. We tested them again on November 5th, and they all functioned properly except for the one that at Liberty Road and Cannon Road. We're still experiencing some malfunctions with it. Service Department replaced some circuit boards and found out now that it's got a bad motor, so they're still continuing to work on getting that repaired as quickly as possible. And again, referencing open house, we want to thank everyone that came out and visited. We had a great evening, and we continue to appreciate the interest and support of the community. And also through the course of October, there's a lot of annual testing that we're required to do on fire equipment. We completed pump testing for all of our primary pumping apparatus. All the department's fire hose was tested, and all the department's ground ladders are tested. The only thing that remains for this year are the aerial apparatus that need to be tested, and that'll be done hopefully next week. That's my report for this evening.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
We got the aerial back that we sent out?
Yeah, the one that was out from paint work is back.
Okay.
All right. Chris, you want to come up?
Good evening, Council. The Service Department completed their, they wanted to do a round through the city of pothole patching. So they went through the city one last time because they have the hot mix material available, and they patched 154 holes, which is pretty small total, and which is great news for us. So they feel we're ready to go into winter, and that will help them to minimize the holes they've got out there. Also, branch chipping. They started yesterday the final round of branch chipping for the year. This is the extra round that we decided to do. So they're 2 days into it. Haven't heard how heavy it is out there, so they'll probably get done, I would think, this week. So hopefully all the residents have their branches out that plan on putting them out. Leaves, we've completed 2 rounds of leaf pickup. We're into our 3rd round. A total of 698 stops. This round and probably the next round are going to be pretty heavy. It's going to slow us down quite a bit. So we've gotten a few calls about, when are we going to be out there. So it's going to take us a while, but we'll get around. We've got three trucks out there picking up leaves. So we'll get out there, and we're gonna run. Actually, the guys want to run on Friday, so we're gonna run them on Friday, and we're running them a couple extra hours in the evenings. So we'll get through that as quick as we can. If you notice outside, the ADA ramp is complete. We've got the railings up. We'll have to do a final inspection on that. Engineering's been helping us out with that. I appreciate Amy and John Wood's help with that. So we'll go through and do a final inspection, see if anything needs to be done, but for all practical purposes, that's completed. Our sewer maintenance crew, during the month of October, completed 8,000 feet of cleaning. They'll continue on with that until bad weather sets in and they can't do that work. And I wanted to let you know that the microturbine, the yearly savings were up to $36,000. So that unit's running good, and we'll probably hit the $50,000 mark again this year. So, and that's my report.
Hey, Chris, I have two quick questions.
Yeah.
I know you and I have had discussions privately and here, I guess, about these double poles, these utility poles. And I know they're very difficult to get the other utilities off of these poles, so we can, when they replace a pole, we wind up with two there, because some of the utilities haven't removed their equipment from the old pole, and now you've got two poles standing out there. I have one on Palmetto in particular that really needs to be taken care of, and I don't know if anybody's still working on it. I know it's a tough situation. It's hard to get these people out there to remove their utility off the old pole, but I just want to know that, you know, somebody's making calls or trying to do something if we can.
I'll follow through
I'd
with
appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing is, are you done crack sealing for the year, or are you still crack sealing? Or did you crack seal this fall? I didn't hear any reports on
We
it.
did not crack seal this fall. We had an issue with our supplier.
Okay.
As you know, we buy the product, they provide the equipment. There's been a change in ownership of that company, and they're not as responsive, and we ran into some problems with them. So we've got product on the floor that we need to use, but we're going to have some discussions with that company, because I've never had any issues with that. We buy the product, we tell them when we're ready for the equipment, and they deliver it. They didn't do it for the fall. We did it in the spring, but we did not do it in the fall. So we're going to have to talk to that company and see what they're willing to do for us.
Okay, thank you. And just to make a comment, I guess your department was picked out tonight for some reason, but the service department, I think, is doing a great job, and thank those guys and thank you and all the leadership down there for everything you do, as well as all the departments. Everybody's doing a good job here, and sometimes we have to make do with what we have. And I think everybody's doing that, and I think everybody's doing their job, so I don't have an issue.
Well, thanks. It's a great crew, and you know, a lot of the guys came forward on this branch shipping for Friday. You know, it's a holiday for us, and the guy said, listen, it's heavy, people have to wait, we'd be willing to work. So, you know, it's a great crew, and they do work hard, they love what they're doing, and, you know, they provide a good service. So I appreciate your comment.
Thank you.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I haven't been down a couple of the streets recently, but I saw some of the hydrants were painted green, but they didn't have the orange tops on. Are they going to have orange tops still, or?
No, we're going with a solid color now.
Oh, okay. That's why they don't have orange tops.
Yep. Yep.
All right, thank you.
The orange was a high maintenance item, and it got to looking bad really quick.
Okay.
It just wasn't working for us.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Chris.
All right.
Anybody else, Mayor?
Larry?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. The Community Development Department is entering into a period now of a number of grant applications, and I just wanted to review tonight some of those for you. The first of which is Resolution 109-2016. That's a U.S. EPA Brownfield Cleanup Grant. This is the same grant that we made application for last year and were rejected on. It's due by December 22nd. It would allow us to get up to $200,000 towards asbestos mitigation. We're focused on the old school for that purpose. There's a significant public involvement portion of this grant application process, and that continues after you receive the grant. Total cost for asbestos are going to be somewhere between $250,000 and $300,000. We would have to make up the difference between the $200,000 that are eligible under the program and whatever the cost of asbestos mitigation happens to be. We'll receive a word if we get our application in by the 22nd, by March, mid-March, we should get a determination. If, for whatever reason, we are not funded for the U.S. EPA Brownfield Cleanup Grant, there still is an opportunity for us after the fact. The Ohio Department of Development Services and the Ohio Water Development Authority have a brownfield loan program. This is a 10-year loan. It has an interest rate of the Treasury rate, which currently is 2.4%. There's no prepayment penalty on the loan. There's a $1,500 application fee and a 0.25% origination fee. Funds can only be used for mitigation, so it would be an opportunity for us to get the mitigation done if we were not successful with the grant. The application period for that particular project is open throughout the year. Resolution 112-2016, that's an application to the Summit County Land Bank to secure side lot and vacant land parcels. These are parcels that are in limbo in the county records. Nobody's paying taxes on them. They're not being maintained. They're in arrears. They're in tax foreclosure. For those properties that are adjacent to city parks and open space, we have the opportunity to request that the land bank acquire those for us. They will acquire the properties, clear the title, and sell them to us for just their costs. So we have 3 particular properties that we're contemplating making application for. All of those are adjacent to existing parks and open space properties, and it would help resolve some of the questions about maintenance and taxes on those properties. We will be also starting very soon the Clean Ohio Conservation. Well, we are also making application to the Clean Ohio Conservation Program that will be coming to council for a resolution authorizing us to make application. The Clean Ohio Conservation Program provides funding up to 75% of the cost for land acquisitions. The idea is to acquire properties that are to be added to open space, provide habitat, watershed protection, or other environmental benefits. And as I said, up to 75% of the land cost can be funded. The applications are due by January 27th. And then we are also getting ready to start our Connecting Communities program, where we have already received the grant, and we'll start work on that roughly in December. That will provide an analysis of connections for the trails within the city of Twinsburg. And finally, the CIC met on November 1st. The next meeting for the CIC is scheduled for December 8th at 6 p.m. at 9833 Ravenna Road. That's all I have.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Larry.
Anybody else, Mayor?
All right. Colette, you're not presenting tonight, right? Just hanging out? All right. Karen?
Good evening, everyone. We did receive our first distribution for income tax collection for this month, and so far we are down by 51%, and that is a result of the refund that I discussed in the previous meeting. I will give a full report on our collections for this month once we get our second distribution in place. Thank you, Council President Scafidi, for giving the update as far as the Finance Committee meeting in regards to the 2017 budget. I did recommend that it convert from temporary to a permanent, and the total budget for 2017 presented to Council for first reading hopefully will be $49,714,028, of which $32,163,302 is the general fund, which is down by 2% compared to this current year. And the total budget, again, is down by 7% compared to this year. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mayor?
That's it this evening.
Okay. We will move on to the legislation portion now. We have Ordinance 99, 2016.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the various general and special revenue accounts as established in Ordinance 6, 2016, the appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg for the year 2016.
Okay, I will make a motion that we adopt Ordinance 99, 2016. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Sorese seconds. Okay, this ordinance, it's a grant that was received by the Twinsburg Fire Department. It was an Attack the Fire training system valued at $23,733. And what we're doing is amending their operating supplies to recognize the receipt of the system. Anybody have any other discussion? Hearing none, call the roll.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McPherron?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Ordinance 99, 2016 passes 6-0. Ordinance 100, 2016.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the various general and special revenue accounts as established in Ordinance 6, 2016, the appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg for the year 2016.
Okay, I will make a motion that we adopt Ordinance 100, 2016. Is there a second?
No second.
Mr. Fury seconds. What this ordinance is, this is to amend the 2016 appropriations to acknowledge the award of the 2015 Assistance to Firefighters Grant from FEMA and to account for the federal share. And this was for an exhaust removal system for the apparatus base in the fire department. Any other discussion? Call the roll, Shannon.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McPherron?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Okay, Ordinance 100, 2016 passes 6-0. Ordinance 102, 2016.
An ordinance amending the NPDES Phase 2 Storm Water Management Plan for the City of Twinsburg, Ohio, as presently on file with the city engineer.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we adopt Ordinance 102, 2016. Is there a second?
No second.
Mr. Fury seconds. What this is to approve the revised stormwater management plan for the this coming year. Any other discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Ms. McPherron?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Okay, Ordinance 102, 2016 passes 6-0. We have Ordinance 103, 2016.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the various general and special revenue accounts as established in Ordinance 6, 2016, the appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg for the year 2016.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we adopt Ordinance 103, 2016. Is there a second?
A second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Okay, 103 is it's an appropriation amendment. It allows the city to process grants that will offset a little more than half the cost of extending Independence Parkway to serve the Amazon site. The entire cost of the project is $855,000 and change. Any other discussion? Shannon, call the roll, please.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Ms. McPherron?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Okay, Ordinance 103, 2016 passes 6-0. Ordinance 104, 2016.
An ordinance authorizing the sale at auction of certain personal property owned by the City of Twinsburg and no longer needed for municipal purposes.
Okay, and that's its second reading on that. Ordinance 105, 2016.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the various general and special revenue accounts as established in Ordinance 6, 2016, the appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg for the year 2016, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we place Ordinance 105, 2016 on its third and final reading and declare it an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Sorese seconds. Any discussion? Shannon, call the roll.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McPherron?
Yes.
Okay, I need a motion to adopt Ordinance 105, 2016 as an emergency. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Sorese, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Steele, any discussion? What this is, 105, it's a transfer of funds for an audit that the council required of the police department for certain purchases in the amount of $3,360. Shannon, call the roll.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Ms. McPherron?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes. Ordinance 105, 2016 passes 6-0 as an emergency. Ordinance 106, 2016.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the City of Twinsburg, Ohio, to enter into a contract with ASME Ohio Council 8, Local 1313 Service Unit, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we suspend the rules on Ordinance 106, 2016, place it on its third and final reading, and declare it an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. McPherron seconds. Any discussion on the emergency? Shannon, call the roll, please.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Ms. McPherron?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Okay, now I need a motion to adopt ordinance 106, 2016. Would somebody like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Steele makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Sorese seconds. What this is out of contract negotiations with the AFSCME for the service department and certain golf course employees. So this is their contract. Is there any other discussion on that? Shannon Caldwell.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes. Ordinance 106, 2016 passes 6-0 as an emergency. Ordinance 107, 2016.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the various general and special revenue accounts as established in Ordinance 6, 2016, the appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg for the year 2016, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we suspend the rules on Ordinance 107, 2016, place it on its third and final reading, and declare it an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Sorese seconds. Any discussion? Shannon, call the roll.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Okay, now I need a motion to adopt Ordinance 107, 2016 as an emergency. Who wants to make that motion?
I'll make it.
Mr. Sorese, who wants to second?
I'll second.
Mr. Steele seconds. Okay, what this is this is a transfer of funds from the agency unclaimed funds to the general fund for checks that have been here for over 5 years that have been unclaimed. Any other discussion?
$400
$400 transfer, yes. Shannon, call the roll.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Okay, Ordinance 107, 2016 passes 6-0 as an emergency. We have Ordinance 108, 2016.
The annual appropriation ordinance for the year 2017, approved by council from estimates submitted by the mayor, providing for the ordinary expenses and other necessary expenses of the city of Twinsburg, Ohio, during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2017.
Okay, and that's the appropriation ordinance that we talked about earlier in finance, and also the finance director gave in her report, so that's its first reading tonight. We have Resolution 109, 2016.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to prepare and submit a matching grant fund application to the U.S. EPA Brownfield Cleanup Program.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we adopt Resolution 109, 2016. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Sorese seconds. What this is applying for the EPA Brownfield Cleanup Program, again, for asbestos mitigation in the old school. As we applied last year, we did not get the grant last year. We're applying again. Any other discussion? Call the roll.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Resolution 109, 2016 passes 6-0. We have Ordinance 110, 2016.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Life Force Management Incorporated for billing services in connection with EMS services.
Okay, and that's its first reading tonight. Ordinance 111, 2016.
An ordinance amending Section 147, Employees Generally, of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Twinsburg.
That's also its first reading on 111. We have Resolution 112, 2016.
A resolution authorizing the city to submit an application with the Summit County Land Bank's Side Lot and Vacant Land Transfer Program.
I will make a motion that we adopt Resolution 112, 2016. Is there a second?
I will.
Ms. McFerrin seconds. Okay, what this is the Summit County Land Bank authorizing them to secure properties, what they call derelict vacant land, either for taxes or property maintenance, and they transfer it to the city with minimal cost to the city of Twinsburg. Any other discussion? Shannon, call the roll, please.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Okay, that ends the, Resolution 112, 2016 passes tonight 6-0. That ends our legislation portion of this evening. Any unfinished new business or miscellaneous? Shannon, we'll start with you.
I have none, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Fury.
As I discussed earlier this evening, our committee or our caucus, I'd like to make a motion to reconsider the vote that we had on the dedication policy. I'd like to put some more time into that. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Call the roll.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Roden? Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Sorese?
I have nothing, thanks.
Thank you. Ms. McFerrin?
Well, I just wanted to thank the mayor for arranging for the ODOT and GPT group coming in to discuss the roundabout, because I know that's a concern for everyone. And in the meantime, want to remind everybody to yield and drive defensively. And thanks for everyone to come to the meeting tonight.
Thank you. Okay, under my report, I do have a couple motions that I mentioned earlier. The first one being that the City Council does not oppose the new liquor permit for Stars Ballroom LLC located on East Aurora Road, and to authorize the clerk to submit the form to the Ohio Division of Liquor Control. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Sorese seconds. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Okay. Next motion is that the City Council does not oppose the new liquor permit for Master Pizza located on Ravenna Road, and authorize the clerk to submit the form to the Ohio Division of Liquor Control. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Sorese seconds. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then finally, we have a motion to dispose of unsold city property that did not sell at the auction. Can I get a second?
A second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Any discussion? Shannon, call the roll.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Okay, and that's all I have tonight. Mr. Steele, any unfinished business?
I have nothing tonight.
Okay, Mrs. Stoffer.
I have nothing.
Mayor Yates.
Yes, the only thing I have is I just want to congratulate the cross-country teams this year. The girls actually took 8th in the state, and we had a sophomore that actually took 6th in the state individually. But it's a fun season. For me, it's a little bittersweet. My daughter ran for 4 years, who's now in her 3rd year of college. My son has run for 4 years. He's graduating this year. And my youngest is not a cross-country kid, so my cross-country days are done, and I will tremendously miss it. A lot of great parents, a lot of great kids, and I just want to congratulate them for a great season. And that's all I have.
Great, thank you. Mr. Maestros, anything?
Just briefly, council passed the CBA for AFSCME tonight. Just want to say thank you for that. A lot of hard work went into that. And I want to recognize city employees that negotiate on behalf of AFSCME, Jeff Naporowski, Ron Powers, Joe Tangler, and Dave Hendry. They put a lot of time and effort into this. And my opinion is I think they viewed this as that they were partners with the city, not necessarily adversaries. They met us in the middle on a lot of issues, and I just want to kind of recognize that on their behalf. Thanks.
I agree. I haven't made this comment, but we both had a job to do in there, and they both understood. And I shared a lot of information about the city, what our plans are, what our budget is, and I think they really, some of the agreements that we came to in that contract really showed that those employees are true partners with this community.
Okay, thank you both. Under absent members, I would like to just make mention that Mr. Roden was here, and he had to leave early. He left our meeting at 9:30 tonight. Do I need a motion on that, Mr. Maestros?
No, I've already commented to Shannon. We'll mark it in the minutes and that he left.
So just publicly that he left at 9:30. He had to go. Other than that, if nobody has anything else, thank you for a good meeting tonight, and good night. Meeting adjourned.